From the Missouri Athletic Club in downtown St. Louis, welcome to the 2025 St. Louis Blues Hall of Fame Induction Ceremony, presented by First Community. Now, please welcome to the stage, Blues Chairman Tom Stillman.
Ladies and gentlemen, this might surprise you. I am not Tom Stillman. But now let's put your hands together for Tom Stillman.
I'm a little late. I was having a kind of a Craig Berube, Carl Gunnarsson moment. So, with a lot of cat calls, it's just, at this age, it's not good. Well, good evening. Welcome, everybody. It's one of my favorite nights of the year as we celebrate the induction of a new class into the Blues Hall of Fame. I want to start by recognizing everyone who has made tonight so special for the Blues organization. Our inductees and their families who traveled all this way, our esteemed Blues alumni, members of our front office, and all the personnel here at the Missouri Athletic Club. A special thank you goes to our dedicated presenting partner, First Community. Glenn Barks is right. Thank you, Glenn, and thank you to First Community. And I particularly want to thank our players and coaches for being here and recognize the importance of this kind of a legacy event for the organization. So tonight we gather to honor 3 legendary Blues as we induct them into our Hall of Fame. And we will also present my very good friend, Bruce Affleck, with the True Blue Award. So the 2025 Hall of Fame class includes an original Blue, a prolific goal scorer, and one of the greatest goaltenders in Blues and NHL history. First, Jim Roberts was the first skater taken by the Blues back in 1967. He was a 2-time All-Star and a leader on those historic teams that went to the Stanley Cup Final 3 years in a row. He retired as a Blue, and he continued to serve the organization in a number of roles in the subsequent years. Wayne Babych was the 3rd overall pick in 1976, the Blues organization's highest pick ever at that point. He captivated Blues fans with his goal-scoring ability and had one of the best offensive seasons in Blues history as our first 50-goal scorer. And that was back in 1980-81. 18. That's when I used to skate in the 1800s. But this is. And Curtis Joseph, Cujo. Cujo was a fan favorite whose incredible saves and iconic masks just remain etched in Blues history. He was an All-Star in 1994. He led the league in save percentage in 92-93. And of course, who can forget? Here comes Shovel Day. I can testify that he enjoyed last night when we played that on the Jumbotron. He was happy. So each of these men has left a lasting impact on the blues organization across really 3 different eras. They inspired blues fans, and they played pivotal roles in leadership roles for their teammates and contributed to the legacy that makes the franchise what it is today. They epitomized what it meant to be a Blue, and tonight it's our privilege to honor them and their contributions to both St. Louis and to the Blues organization by inducting him into our Hall of Fame. So thank you very much for being here, and I hope you enjoy the night.
Since its inception, the Blues Hall of Fame has grown to include 17 members of the franchise's remarkable history. Pioneering owners,
I just think the greatest name in the world, we'll just call them the St. Louis Blues.
nostalgic voices, legendary coaches, and unforgettable players. In 2025, we're proud to enshrine the third class, a group of men whose careers span across 4 decades of blues hockey. Once again, we pay tribute to those that formed our foundation and captivated our spirit, to those that so gracefully represented our city and our team and turned St. Louis into a hockey powerhouse. Wayne Babych, a dynamic forward that recorded one of the greatest seasons in team history when he became the first to reach 50 goals in 1981.
Babych goes across the line and scores.
Curtis Joseph, a 1994 All-Star and the backbone of the team in the early 90s. His acrobatic saves and iconic masks will forever be etched in the minds of Blues fans. Jim Roberts, a true original who came to the Blues in the 1967 NHL expansion draft, a versatile player and respected captain that helped establish the franchise's identity in its earliest days. It's time to expand the hallowed halls of this exclusive club. Welcome the third class of the Blues Hall of Fame. Now, please welcome to the stage the voices of the Blues, John Kelly and Chris Kerber.
Well, here we go. Those are not the 3 most famous words ever uttered in St. Louis Blues history. I think we're going to revisit those 3 words a little later on. Welcome, everybody, to the 2025 St. Louis Blues Hockey Hall of Fame induction ceremonies. Glad to have you with us here at this, once again, amazing and historic building, the Missouri Athletic Club, the home of so many amazing sports moments and historical moments that really help enshrine sports into the great fabric that it is here in St. Louis. I'm Chris Kerber, along with John Kelly. We are glad to have you with us. How many of you here at the MAC, by the way, or maybe those watching out on our St. Louis Blues YouTube video, or on Midwest Matrix, one of the Blues' new partners from a broadcast aspect, as this show goes live on Midwest Matrix tonight. And we will also be having 3 over-the-air games on Midwest Matrix starting on February 22nd, so stay tuned for that. How many of you see that original opening video? Remember that old arena? And more importantly, how many of you, every time you drive down Highway 40, the young ones will call it 64, but those that know Highway 40 know what I'm talking about. How many of you drive down Highway 40 and still to this day, every time you pass 57 Oakland Avenue, you look to the right and you go, that's where it was? So again, we welcome into everybody here to the MAC on our St. Louis Blues YouTube channel and on Matrix Midwest. And John Kelly, this night is going to be fun.
This night is one of my favorite events of the year. And, you know, I was thinking this year's class, Jimmy Roberts, Wayne Babych, Cujo, I bet most of the people in this room, because they're such great Blues fans, remember Jimmy Roberts playing hockey. And I know they remember Babych and Cujo, but that's the knowledge that these fans have and the history that this franchise has. So it's so fun to be here. I'm honored to be the MC with you, Chris. This is our third year of the Hall of Fame, so we're going to have a lot of fun tonight. We have some special guests here tonight, as usual. Please welcome the President of Hockey Ops and the General Manager, Mr. Doug Armstrong. Say hello to Blues President of Business Operations, Chris Zimmerman. Also here tonight, Blues Assistant General Manager, Ryan Miller. And the Special Assistant to the General Manager, a Stanley Cup champion, Alexander Steen. We have a couple of members of our coaching staff here tonight. Goalie coach David Alexander. And associate coach Steve Ott.
Well, as Mr. Stillman mentioned at the onset, we're not here, of course, without the players. They're the ones that entertain us. They're the ones that get us on our feet every night. They're the ones that get us excited when we're battling through the workday, knowing that that night we're going to a hockey game. But it's always special when you have players that not only recognize the job that they have to do on the ice, but just what the organization means to them. And by coming to an event like this the night before a game, it really shows the commitment that they have to not only know about the St. Louis Blues organization, but to be part of this great community. So here with us, and we're glad to have them with us. Let's welcome to St. Louis officially Dylan Holloway. What a start to the year he's had. Oscar Sundqvist said, I liked it so much, I'm coming back. Joel Hofer. Tyler Tucker. Jake Neighbors. Colton Parayko. Robert Thomas. This guy recently became the all-time winningest goaltender in Blues history, Jordan Binnington. And your captain, Braden Shen. And also here tonight representing the St. Louis Blues and all the guys that worked their tails off behind the scene. For over 30 years, he's been helping take care of all these guys. Blues athletic trainer Ray Borelli.
All right, guys, before we bring up Mr. Babych, we want to bring up some of his former teammates. Of course, he coached Wayne for 4 seasons, including 3 as his head coach. Please welcome Blues Hall of Famer Red Berenson. Great to see you, Red. You're looking great. Red told me he's going to play in an alumni game again on Sunday in Detroit. I mean, this guy just never stops. He's a machine. His final season in St. Louis was Wayne's rookie season. Welcome the Iron Man Blues Hall of Famer, Gary Unger.
Jeremy, you're going to have to play a couple extra moments, okay? Which we understand, okay?
Gary has a lower body injury, as we say in the business. Right? Or is it upper body? I don't know.
Just depends.
Right.
Upper body is anything above the waist. Lower body is below the waist. Inner body is the flu. And outer body is Ilya Bryzgalov.
He's got it. He's a tough guy. All right, he was Wayne's goaltender for 5 of his 6 years in St. Louis. And now number 2 on our all-time goaltender wins list, Blues Hall of Fame member, Mike Liut. And now welcome Wayne Center for most of his time in St. Louis, Blues Hall of Famer, Hockey Hall of Famer, number 24, the great Bernie Federko. Always great to see Mr. Federko. He's got the hair of a 25-year-old, this guy. Amazing. All right, now turn your attention.
I clearly did something wrong.
Now turn your attention to the sidewall video screens for a special video.
The Blues' highest ever draft pick at the time, Wayne Babych, was taken 3rd overall in the 1978 draft. In 1978 to 79, the 20-year-old produced one of the greatest rookie seasons in franchise history,
Babych goes across the line and scores.
scoring 27 goals and 63 points to finish third in the Calder Trophy voting for Rookie of the Year. 2 years later, he was selected as a 1981 All-Star and led the NHL with 40 even-strength goals while becoming the Blues' first-ever 50-goal scorer. One of just 18 players in Blues history with over 150 goals and assists, the Blues are proud to induct number 10, Wayne Babych.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome number 10, Wayne Babych. Mr. Babych, that jacket looks great on you, my friend. Congratulations, Wayne. Blues' first 50-goal scorer. How does it feel to be a member of the Blues Hall of Fame, Wayne?
Well, I'm speechless, and it's a great honor. I'm humbled. You know, even sitting next to my old teammates and my favorite coach. He said, yeah, he put me on the power play exactly, and he moved me over to a no-name center that I guess I'm the first 50-goal scorer with a no-name center. Blaker, I'm sorry, I had to say that. Red Berenson told me to say that. No, it's, it was an honor to get drafted by St. Louis, and, it's, obviously the guys in today, you break your bones. I pretty much broke every bone playing with the Blues, and Redwood, he always gave me a lot of shit for getting hurt all the time, but that's the only way I could play, and it was with the people I met with the Plagers and Mr. Francis and Dennis Ball and all these great people, great hockey people, and I couldn't ask for any more. It was like a family.
So Wayne, where were you when you got the call that you were in the Blues Hall of Fame, and what was your initial reaction?
Well, in our era, we didn't have cell phones, and we played a lot of jokes on each other. And Bernie, I kind of started off with one of the guys phoning me, said, we want to do something for the opening night for this year. And so we're going to phone you. And the time went by, and next thing you know, it's past the open night. So Bernie said, well, we're going to have a conference over the phone at 10:30 on a Monday. So anyway, I'm waiting for the phone. I got to the best reception place in my house, and obviously Bernie says up in Canada they don't have good Wi-Fi. And,
That's no lie.
Sorry, I'm going to all these rooms for about a half hour. Bernie says it's not good reception here, not getting there. And I go all the way through the whole house, probably like I say a half hour into it, and I said, come on. So I went back downstairs where I thought the best reception, and then he gave me the news that just kidding Babs, and gave me the news of being in the Hall of Fame, and it was great.
Wayne, what do you remember about finding out that you were going to, first of all, be a St. Louis Blue, and at the time, do you remember knowing anything about this city?
Well, I did hear, Mr. Francis, the Pelagers, Noel Picard, Dan Kelly is announcing on the radio, and you heard a lot about it, and you heard someone on the radio back home, and the famous backhand, Mr. Red Barron, he's, and you heard guys getting drafted before me, and with Bernie and Brian, and Western boys, and there was a lot of Western boys on the team, a lot of Saskatchewan people, and in my era, there was kind of 3 guys in the top of the first draft you could go to any city, and it seemed like the conversation with Mr. Francis, he really wanted me here, and it's great to be wanted. Obviously, the World Hockey was around, but my heart was set to be an NHLer, like most kids, and yeah, it was. It was great to be a Blue, and I wear blue to this day, and it's big in my heart. And like I say, the city, it was a fantastic. I still have great friends here, and a great hockey town, and yeah, it was quite a thrill to be here.
Bernie, what was it like when you had a chance to start dishing the puck at times to Wayne, and then understanding just how good he was going to be?
Well, what happened there, I mean, we were building then. I mean, we had gone through a couple of years where we were in transition there. Of course, Red and Ungie were both the older guys on the block here. And when I came, I mean, they're way older than me, folks. And I'm really old now, so that just goes to show how things went. But no, really, we were in transition. Mr. Francis had talked to us a lot about it. I mean, of course, Brian and I had come a couple of years earlier, and then we had not had a great year in 77, 78, and then when Wayne was drafted 3rd overall, Ungie was still here, Red was retiring at the time, and we were just excited to I mean, and of course, from Wayne playing in the Western Hockey League, the Western Canadian Hockey League, whatever was at the time, that's where I'd played, and we'd heard so much about the team in Portland, about Wayne, and we were really excited to have a guy that not only could score, he was tough, he was mean, he could do all those things. So, I mean, it was a pretty big thrill for us to be able in a situation to welcome Wayne. And, I mean, we didn't know, I mean, we were all young then. We'd come off of decent years the year before, but we were trying to prove ourselves. And when Wayne came in, it was just great for Brian and I especially, because we now had our right winger. He was a right-handed shot, Brian was left, I was the center iceman. And it was a thrill that we were actually thrown onto the same line, and we got a chance to try to prove ourselves right off the bat, and it was a really a thrill of a lifetime to be able to get that chance.
Now, Red, I think Wayne said you were his favorite coach, right? You did say that, right, Wayne? Okay, so you were talking to me earlier. This guy was one of the best power forwards in the game in his era. What made him so special, Red?
Well, he, you only get one chance to make a good first impression, and when Wayne got on the ice, it was in one of our first exhibition games. I don't remember who we were playing, but he hit a guy behind the net, and he hit him like he wanted to kill him. He didn't, but that's the way he hit. He hit like a truck, and he was a man-child when he came up. He wasn't 160 or 70 pounds. I mean, he was a young guy. What, were you 18, 19 at the time? And he stepped in and played like he'd been in the league for 10 years. He could shoot the puck. I mean, Liut can attest to that. He went to the net hard. He played physical. It was all out, and he loved the game. You could just tell this guy loves the game, and players like that are going to do well. You just know it, and I was really excited. It was the first year I'd retired, and I thought, boy, this is going to be something. And with Bernie and Sutter, the way they were coming along, and then with Babs, and then with the following couple of classes that came into St. Louis, they were a lot of good young players, and Emil put together a really good lineup for us. And by the time, it was a couple of years later when I took over, when Bark was sick, and I had to start coaching, it's not something I'd planned on, but Emil called me one day and he said, Bark is really sick, you're going to have to run the team. We'll give you 3 games, and we'll see how the team does. And players responded because they knew that I knew all about them, and I knew how good they could be, and I knew how not so good and why they might be once in a while. But they all they got excited, and I got excited, and we had a great goalie in Mike Liud. But when Wayne started to score, and then we put together another line with Wayne on the right side with Blake Dunlop and Jorgen Pedersen, and they clicked right away. And so now we had two really good scoring lines that could play against anyone. So that was my first impression, and he doesn't look like he's changed, just a little older, Wayne, but we all are. So congratulations, good for you.
Now, Red, you said that this guy could hit and fight, he could skate. As a coach, he was a great goal scorer. So did you at times have to say, hey, big guy, settle down, play hockey, or did you just sort of let him run wild?
Well, he didn't run as wild as he could have, but he just played a physical game. He played a hard game. He went in the dirty areas and paid the price to score goals. So I don't think you could have taken that away from him. He was a natural, and he was physical, and like I say, he was developed. But over the years, it took its toll on him. But it does on all of us. So, I don't think I complained when he got hurt. I just didn't like our lineup as well when he was not in the lineup. Like, this was a young player too. It's not like he's a 30-year-old veteran. He was just a kid. But good for him. He made a difference in the team, and the team got closer, and for a lot of reasons. So it was a good time for the St. Louis Blues hockey to watch these young guys come in and develop.
He didn't have to be the nut. Brian was the nut on the other side, on the left wing, so he didn't have to do that, Red.
That's right.
Yeah, but did you realize that, Wayne?
No, we backed each other up. It was a good.
What was it about, as Red said, when he put you on that line with Blake and Jorgen that seemed to click so well? What do you remember about being on the ice with those two guys?
I thought I lost the better. No. I thought I was being punished. No, I'm just kidding. I'm sure they knew I would go play anywhere except goal. No, I was. It was actually I think we were 10-10 going into the season. We had a real good team, and we were going to Boston. And I don't think we ever won in Boston. And he flipped me over with Jorgen. I believe we won the game, and our line got most of the goals. And now, relieved the pressure, of the one line with Bernie and Brian, because everybody watched Bernie because he was sort of the playmaker of the team, and it just clicked. Everything clicked, and then all of a sudden we started going on a winning streak. I think we were second overall that year in the league. But I know Red gave me some tips. He helped me. God forbid if you try to score in your backhand and you had a weak shot the next day at practice. Well, all we did was work on backhands, but as obviously he's known as a famous backhand. But anyway,
you never had a backhand.
Well,
you didn't have a stick that could do a backhand.
I always told you to feed me in the slot. I'll get there. But and Blaker too. But yeah, kind of one of the biggest points that I said in that particular year, we were playing Buffalo, and Donnie Edwards was the goalie, and I had an open net, and I just thought I'd just flip it up to the top shelf. And Donnie Edwards, he had his glove off, and he grabbed his glove, and he kind of flipped it up, and I hit his glove, and it didn't make it in the net. I get off the bench, and it's like, I got so much shit from Red. He says, don't you ever do that again. You got to put that, every time you get the puck, you put it through the net. That's how you have to think. And from that particular point, that's all I kind of tried, from a great of Red Berenson, I tried to do exactly what he said, and things started working out even better, and that's, it was a good season.
Mike, just how good was his shot?
Well, I was introduced to a shot. It was in the morning skate of the first game that I was going to play in the NHL. And Eddie Stanowski, played the first 5 Eddies here tonight. And I was going to get a chance to play. So Red, in his coaching genius, had a walkthrough on the power play. And he forgot to tell Babs, we're not shooting the puck. At least we don't need to put it through the back of the net when we're doing that because there's no defenders. So the puck comes across the Babs, and he tees it up from the hash marks and hits me right in the eye. And instead of a pregame meal, I was in the hospital getting 7 stitches in my eyelid so I could play that night. So it was a hard shot.
Obviously. Now, Gary, you obviously were a veteran at the time. What was it like seeing all these young bucks on this team, including, of course, Wayne, coming third overall?
It was exciting to get these guys in the lineup. We struggled for a while during the early 70s with draft choices not making the team and things like that. I'm pretty sure Wayne would probably have been a 20-goal scorer had he not played with Bernie.
Yeah, we got 40.
I played with Gretz, and Bernie can pass the puck through a needle, and that made a big difference on them putting that line together. But I'm just kidding, Wayne. You are a 50-goal scorer.
Now, Red, you mentioned the line, and I know that Wayne played with Bernie a lot, and anyone would want to play with Bernie. Blake was a great center, but what transpired and what led you to put him with Blake and Jorgen?
Well, we had a couple of guys that could play with Bernie, and I think Blake Chapman was here, Blair Chapman, and Tony Curry, and they were both right-handed shots. They were smart, and Chapman had played junior with Bernie, so it gave us a chance if we could build another scoring line. We wouldn't be a one-line team and too easy to maybe shut down. So as good as Bernie was, he was even better when we got this other line going. And they had a little bit of relief. And we just became a better team. We got more people involved. And Wayne grew, you know, he did really well with Bernie. But with Blake Dunlop, who was a real good playmaker, even though he was a right-handed shot and Babs was a right winger, he made really good plays. And Jorgen, who most of you don't know, Jorgen Pettersson was a big Swedish kid, big, tall Swedish kid, and really a nice player, typical Swede, but he passed the puck so well. And so these three clicked from day one. And to see them go into Boston and dominate the game like they did, we knew we had something good.
Wayne, what's with the helmet?
You know, it's kind of funny. This helmet, I wore 3 games in my entire career. I thought it was
So we got a picture from one of those 3 games?
Yes.
Wow.
I had the Stan Mikita where I can hurt people with, and and I can take pucks to the head. And this particular helmet, I have a mustache. This is my rookie year, so obviously there's an initiation thing in those days. And I thought wearing the mustache, they would just shave my mustache off, but that did not happen. They continued on, but I wore that only for the reason of initiation. In my with my brother Dave, who he played here in the NHL for 20 years. We had a game. It was a Saturday night here against the Jets, and then the next day in Chicago. So it's the only picture of Dave and I taken of one of our drafted teams in our original uniforms, and there I am with the helmet. The next day in Chicago, Wilson took a shot from the point, like our Wilson, and deflected, hit me in the head. And I usually, with my big Stan Mikita, I would just drop my head and deflect off. And next thing you know, it was like wearing nothing. I think I took 8 stitches that game, and I took it off. And I see the advertising. It's the only, I'm shocked. That's not kind of me, like my trademark. I used my big helmet to hurt people, and it's
Well, while we're at it, his brother Dave played over 1,000 games in the National Hockey League and a terrific defenseman, so welcome to St. Louis, and glad to have you here sitting with us as well, Dave. Now wait a minute, because you clearly were a thinker then, okay? Because you're like, if I'm going to grow a mustache, because the worst they could do to me would be to shave my mustache. By the way, it is nice to finally share the stage with somebody else that's also known for their eyebrow, all right? So this is a great thing. So it was clearly not just the mustache or the eyebrows that were there. Bernie Federko said that you were one of the toughest son of a guns, and he's got proof of this, apparently.
Folks, you've never seen anything like it. Ludi was there. I mean, I don't. Red may have not been in the locker room when it happened. The hazing. I mean, I see the guys back there. Hazing now is you got to have a rookie dinner. You got to pay for dinner. That's really a tough thing. I'm going to tell you what. We got shaved back in those days, and it wasn't pretty. But I have never seen anything like this. This is the most amazing, strongest willed, bravest man I've ever seen in my life, because what he got done to him in the hazing was something that I wouldn't even want to ever put on a video, because he got it so bad that, I mean, he's got the body under that shirt that is probably like a sheep or an alpaca. And I'm going to tell you what, Larry Giroux, who was one of our defensemen, he put a goalie mask on. It was called the mass rasp. He took the stick rasp, guys, and you got shaved in the certain parts. I mean, and you got cut, it didn't matter. But he got his chest rasped off with the mass rasp. I mean, the entire chest of hair was rasped off, and he didn't make one whimper. I mean, when I got it, I cried like a baby. He was absolutely amazing, Babs. I'll still never forget that. I will, as long as I live. I can't believe that you went through that. You got up. There was Vaseline. There was all with light. Ludi, you were there.
I was. Don't drag me into this nonsense.
I was watching. You know what? I did not participate.
I was in the cerebral
did you participate?
I never participated in that stuff.
I was in the WHA at that time.
Okay, well, I'm telling you, it was the most amazing
I have an alibi.
Anybody want to go on record on who was doing the shaving?
There was Bobby Player was part of it. Bobby
and Pick.
And Bobby had a giggle. You know what the funny part about it is that you knew who it was. I mean, Buff, Larry Giroux, I mean, he was trying to put the mask on. Oh, no one's going to know who it is. Well, the way he was giggling, you knew who it was. I mean, it's Larry. Hi, Larry. How are you? Crazy
Doesn't
stuff.
mention the buffalo head.
Exactly.
The lawyers are heading for the doorway right now.
Exactly.
You know, that's a day I'll never forget. And probably most people won't. But I remember I started the season, and Bernie and I were leading the league in scoring, and the guys were telling me they wanted to shave me. They're just kind of waiting for that moment. I think maybe management said, let him go, and then I got threatened. As soon as you slow down scoring, we're going to shave you. Okay, so it's another motivational thing to keep going. And next thing you know, I was in Colorado. I broke both my ankles that one game. I got two-handed by Kitchen and slid into the board. So I'm out for 6 weeks. So I come back 4 weeks into I'm starting to skate again, and I'm ready to play. But I feel good. But Barkley player comes up to me. He says, "Babs, I think you're going to play this Saturday." So I'm all pumped up. I'm ready to go. He said, "But we're going to skate you real hard tomorrow." And I said, "Okay, let's do this." So after practice, he skated me for about a half hour, real hard. Came into the dressing room just dragging, and everybody's gone. And so I'm down there, got my top of him. Next thing you know, 20 guys come flying in, ready to, I was so happy when I got into the room that they threw a towel around the top of my head and taped me up so I wouldn't see. But as I saw the 3 surgeons waiting for me and all the apparatus hanging from the ceiling and shaving cream and all that, it's like, and I was just told to keep quiet by an old veteran, a guy named Harold Sneps. He told me, he says, Wayne, the quieter you are, that maybe the less abuse you're going to get, and it's a day I'll never forget. It's I used to have 2 eyebrows. I mean, 1 eyebrow. Now I got 2. Yeah. Anyway.
That meant they loved you, Babs.
Yeah. I didn't appreciate the heat that Woody, the heat that Woody made it extra hard that they applied onto my body. That was something that was not. It was tough, but. I didn't really like cold showers, but an hour and a half in the shower. Woody was wanting to go home. He said, "Babs, you got to come out of there. I got to go home." But anyway, it was an interesting day. But it was part of, it's part of being in the NHL.
Well, you survived, Wayne. Congratulations.
Yeah. I'm lacking hair now, looking on the top of my head.
Real quick, John. Listen, I think it's pretty impressive to be known as, at that point in time, the highest drafted St. Louis Blue ever. The first 50 goal scorer, and then to also be remembered for having an alpaca under your shirt and getting shaved with a hockey stick. Those are 2 real unique things to be known for there.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Wayne, to wrap it up, sort of an awkward transition, but you unfortunately got claimed by Pittsburgh in, I think, 83, 84. But you got to play with Mario Lemieux. Pretty good player. What was it like playing with Mario?
Well, he was a great player, great skilled player. I've been blessed to play with Gretzky in the World Juniors. He was my centerman, and obviously Bernie here and Blake Dunlop. I couldn't ask for any more. And then when I went there, they put me on the line with Mario. The one thing that was kind of sad, like he was a right-handed shot too, so he favored his, as an 18-year-old kid, favored his left winger. But I picked up the garbage, started coming back to me, and my injuries, I started feeling a little bit better. But I thought I was a smart player, but I for some reason, I continued being into the corners first and getting pulverized. But but no, I enjoy, that's the way I played the game, and that's how I ended my career too. Someone two-handed me, and I lost my right leg. So it's I'm glad I kind of went out that way instead of some young little bugger would take my job away from me. But it's hockey's been great, and this is great. I can't say enough of being here.
Wait, no, last thing for you here. Our next honoree is an original Blue. When you went and played that year in Pittsburgh, he was an assistant coach. What do you remember about Jimmy Roberts?
Well, I do remember his chewing tobacco all over the ice. But no, it's kind of fun. But no, he was he was a great role model. The stuff that these guys taught you, the tricks of the trade, the sharpening of the sticks to carve guys up and stuff. I don't know if they have any idea what it's like now, but I was total shock of getting cut up and. Didn't you sharpen your tip of your blade and then the shaft, which you can cut some guys? So, he's better in getting stitches than you watching him. So, but he was like I say, great knowledge of the game, and he was, for me, and having him here also in St. Louis, following around, it was great. He was a really good man.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, our first inductee of the evening, St. Louis Blues Hall of Famer Wayne Babych. Wayne, thank you very much.
All right, I don't know if we're going to be able to top that hazing story, but we'll give it our shot.
No, we're going to have new laws in Missouri real soon. They're going to prevent that.
So, again, congrats to Wayne. Just a tremendous player. Our next inductee, of course, we lost about 10 years ago to cancer. The great Jimmy Roberts. His family is here. We're going to meet them shortly. But Red and Gary, of course, knew Jimmy very well. And Red, let's start with you. You played with Jimmy in Montreal, also in Hull, Ottawa. Was that a junior team or pro team? I'm not sure. And then, of course, Jimmy was the first skater drafted by the Blues. You were traded to St. Louis early in the first year. Why was it so special to have Jimmy Roberts as a teammate? What made him so great?
Well, when I first met Jimmy, he was single, and we were married, and we'd both been sent down by Montreal to Hull, Ottawa. And Terry Harper had rented a house there, and so he invited the players that needed a place to stay. So Jimmy lived there. Cesar Maniego lived there. Joy and our oldest daughter, Kelly, who was only a year old, lived there, and so on. The house was full. It was just it was a mess. So one thing about Jimmy, and he's not the only one, but one thing about Jimmy is if we're leaving for practice at 10 o'clock, you better be ready before 10 o'clock. And that's kind of a Scotty Bowman thing, and a lot of coaches are like that. But Harper was the most slovenly, not lazy, but intentionally late player I ever played with. And I loved the player, but the guy, and we're living in, Jimmy didn't have a car then, or Jimmy did have a car, Harper didn't have a car. Harper needed to ride with Jimmy every day to practice. And I can't tell you the times where Jimmy would just about drive away on him. He was out there honking the horn and so on. But it was a fun time, and the players got to know each other, and I got to know Jimmy Roberts for the first time, and we found out we had a lot in common and so on and so forth. He hadn't married Judy yet, so that was in the future. But nevertheless, that was the start. Then we got called back up to Montreal. We won the Stanley Cup in '65, and we both played a lot, and Jimmy got to play. He was so versatile. He could play right defense, left defense, and he could play right wing or left wing. They'd put him where they needed him to shut somebody down. He was a great penalty killer, a great second effort player, and he was a great role model for all the other young guys on the team, that they saw how hard this guy worked. And it was every game. That was Jimmy Roberts. And then we ended up, I ended up in St. Louis via New York Rangers, and Jimmy ended up straight from Montreal in that expansion draft. And I knew why they drafted him. And Scotty knew him. Scotty knew Jimmy well because he coached him in Peterborough. So it was a thoughtful draft, and Jimmy was the kind of guy they needed. So, and then I got there, and I knew Jimmy, and then I got to know Bart, and I got to know Bob and all the boys. And our team really got close that year. And one of the reasons was Jimmy Roberts.
And Red, you mentioned, and we can't overlook this, that he played both forward and defense in the NHL. How difficult is that? Did Scotty start that, or did it start earlier in his career?
I think Scotty knew that, Jimmy was playing for Scotty when he was 16, 17 years old in Peterborough. So Scotty knew all about Jimmy Roberts, and he knew how to press the buttons that would get Jimmy going and so on and so forth. But he used him wherever he needed to, and Jimmy would rise to, he never complained. Put me out there, coach, and I'll do it. And he did.
Gary, when you come into the National Hockey League and you've got a guy that would eventually, obviously not at time, but Jimmy Roberts was a number of years back named as one of the top 100 Montreal Canadiens of all time. What was it like for you as a young player to be around a veteran that, in Jimmy Roberts, not only just a veteran, but truly played with some of the all-time greatest on the most storied franchise?
Well, I was a little nervous coming into town here because I got traded for Red, and Red was the leader on the team, and I knew all these guys were from Montreal, so I was afraid that nobody was going to talk to me when I came to the game. Anyhow, Jimmy was the ultimate leader, just like Red said. He was always there when something was going that you needed some information about. He was great with the rookies, and I'd never seen a guy work that hard in practice. I thought practice was just to have some fun, but that didn't last very long. With Jimmy and Bark there, practice was like a game, and I learned that early.
I was told in talking to Joel Quenneville, who coached with Jimmy here, that I said, give me a word to describe Jimmy Roberts. And he said, after thinking about it for a moment, he said enthusiasm. And he said it didn't matter what Jimmy did, whether it was drinking a beer, practicing, there was always enthusiasm around Jimmy. Did you see that from him when he was playing?
All the time. And once I got to know him and became part of the team a little bit, I used to sit with him on the bus all the time. And one time I said to him, what are you going to do when you retire from hockey? He says, I want to be a bus driver. I said, are you kidding? He said, no, I think that'd be great. He said, I could just pump up all these kids that are going to school and get them going and just like a hockey team. So he was a special guy, Jimmy was.
And then Red, you had a chance, obviously then playing with him, but eventually you would coach with him as well. And as a matter of fact, you and Jimmy were assistant coaches with Scotty Bowman when Scotty Bowman was the head coach in Buffalo. So you know what the transition to coaching was like for you. What can you tell us about that for Jimmy?
Well, it was good. I mean, Jimmy, any team he played for ended up, or coached for, ended up winning. He'd won, I think he won 2 American League championships with 2 organizations in, if you remember, now where was that? Doug,
it was
you
in
remember?
Springfield, and
Springfield.
they won in 1990 when they were affiliated with the New York Islanders. Then they won the next year with a group of players from the Hartford Whalers, who apparently the year before, according to Terry Yake, who was on that team, the year before, this group that came down from Hartford had only won 11 games. They had lost 60, and Jimmy Roberts turned them into a Calder Cup champion that very next year. So they won back-to-back Calder Cup championships that year with those guys.
And Jimmy was one of those guys. He was not really worried about his next job. He was just worried about doing a great job wherever he was. So he didn't have a plan where I hope I'm coaching in St. Louis or wherever. He was happy in the American League. He told the players the way it was. If you play hard and you play the right way, you'll get a chance in the NHL, and I'll see to it. And that's what he did. So the players loved him. And they won, and good for them. Well, sooner or later, he got picked up by the Blues and made his mark here with Quenneville, and good for him. And then when he and I retired about the same time, we both ended up in Buffalo coaching with Scotty. And that's where Jimmy and Judy were so great with our family. We didn't know anybody in Buffalo, but they did, and they were great. So that was... Think about it, it's a couple of years ago. Phil Housley, we just drafted Housley, Andrechuk, Barrasso, and then a few guys that didn't make it. But these were 3, we had 6 first-round picks in the 2 years I was in Buffalo. So Jimmy and I had a lot of fun working with these young guys and trying to get them to figure it out. And of course, Scotty was coach and manager. He was the head coach. But then Jimmy and I we had so much in common. We traveled in the summer, our families got together, and away we went. We each had a trailer, and we traveled through Western Canada or Eastern Canada. And so it wasn't just at the rink friendship, it was everywhere friendship. And we'd cut wood and build fires and cross-country ski and you name it. And then Jimmy got into running marathons, and that's when I got out of it. But it's true.
Now, Red, you mentioned in describing Jimmy, forward defense, he was a checker. Scotty Bowman told me that in one particular game, I believe, or maybe a series, that Scotty actually had Jimmy as a winger shadow Bobby Orr. Do you remember that? And obviously that was quite a challenge, I would think.
Yeah, and that was in the Stanley Cup final. And so we could do it better at home. But Scotty used Jimmy and Terry Crisp. If one was tired, then the other one would go. And all they did was shadow Orr. And it worked for a while, but then Crispy got the puck once and he didn't know what to do with it. He was so focused on Orr, so he gave it to Orr, and then he went after him. And then Scotty realized this may not work.
But how about that? A forward shadowing Bobby Orr. That's how much faith Scotty had in Jimmy Roberts. We have another gentleman here we want to bring up who became quite a defenseman under the tutelage of Joel and, of course, Jimmy Roberts. The great Chris Pronger is going to join us on the dais.
My first few years broadcasting Blues games, we'd sit up there, and when it came to analyzing the defense and trying to figure out what Jimmy Roberts was doing, it was probably the easiest part of Kelly Chase's job, because he'd sit there on the air and he'd be looking at the forwards, and I mean, there was a fight that happened. Chase he should have grabbed the guy here, should have grabbed the guy there. He goes, well, there's no easier job in the NHL than what Jimmy Roberts has right now. He tapped Chris Pronger on the back for 30 minutes. He'd tap Al McInnes on the back for 30 minutes. And then he said he'd fill with the rest of them. And Joe Quenneville said that with Jimmy Roberts down there running the defense with you guys, he said he never had to worry about a thing. What was he like for you, Chris?
I heard the word enthusiasm. Very spirited back there on the back end. He was great. He got me. I think I was 22 when Jimmy came aboard from Worcester, and he was a breath of fresh air for me. I'd gone through a little bit of a learning curve here in St. Louis, and having Jimmy and Joel come in and work with me, was something that I think Mike started the resurrection of my career, but having both Joel and Jimmy really take an interest in my career and developing me and bringing me along, having two defensemen like them. Apparently he's a forward/defenseman, but having two defensemen like him and Joel was I think the biggest thing that helped me in my career.
What made him so good at communicating and helping you at a young age figure out what you have to do on the ice?
I think he kept the game as simple as possible. Very simple. I mean, he had that little hat and the gloves with no fingers, and we're practicing without pucks, faking like we're passing to one another. I mean, it couldn't get any simpler than that. And, I think it just meat and potatoes. It was right in front of you, kept it simple. And, again, work ethic, come to practice, come to learn, come to prepare, and, teaching good habits. And again, it's as simple as that. You have talent, but they harness that and really put you in the right place to be successful.
Okay, so you did participate in the imaginary puck drills.
I did.
So apparently I'm told that these drills, Joel said that it's a drill that they have dubbed the Jimmy drill.
Yeah.
He's used it
There's
everywhere that he has gone.
There's two.
Terry Yates said that even back in 1991, he would do this drill with the Springfield Indians. Yep. And the year they won that Calder Cup. And Terry said that if you'd make a bad pass the game the night before. And then Jimmy would do this drill. So it's a 3-on-0 drill up the ice, no pucks. You're making imaginary passes. It's I guess almost the Music Man method of playing hockey. But he said he'd look at it, and Terry said that if you made a bad pass the game before and then you made this imaginary pass with the puck during this drill, Jimmy would get all over you. You'd make a pass. He goes, "Oh, that pass was awful," even with an imaginary puck. He managed to keep it light, but apparently this drill from Jimmy has become quite legendary.
Oh, absolutely. We did it at least every couple weeks. Build the confidence. Never a bad pass in practice. And no, it was interesting. We'd dump and chase once in a while with no puck. It was pretty. I think Chaser and Twister were fighting over the same puck, but.
Well, I tell you what, let's turn everybody's attention to the video screen here.
The first skater drafted by the organization in the 1967 expansion draft, Jim Roberts was a part of the leadership group that helped define the franchise in its infancy. Team captain in 1971 and a two-time All-Star. He played both forward and defense across 395 games with the Blues and guided them to Stanley Cup final appearances in each of their first 3 seasons. Retiring with the Blues after the 1977-78 season, Roberts continued to serve the organization as its minor league affiliate's head coach and general manager, as well as interim head coach and an assistant coach with the Blues. A franchise pioneer and true original, the Blues are proud to induct number 6, Jim Roberts.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, when you are a part of the Blues family, you are a part of the Blues family. And she's been a part of the Blues family and such an amazing soul and happy person to be around. Let's welcome to the stage Jimmy Roberts' wife, Judy. She was affectionately known by Jimmy and other people as Mama Bear. And then Jimmy's daughters, Vicky and Corey as well.
Ladies, congratulations. Judy, let me start with you. What do you think Jimmy would feel today, and what do you think of this great honor?
I think Jimmy would be very humbled, and I think he'd also say that it was a team effort and not take the credit for anything, because he always did say that he was just part of a team.
Well, he was a great teammate. We know that. We've heard the stories. Mr. Soman is here to give you some wonderful gifts and the crystal.
All right, hang on. Scotty, come back here. Hang on. Flank Mom and Mr. Stillman here. Let's have the whole family in there. And Red and Chris and Gary, teammates, you guys jump in there as well for us, please. There we go. Judy, before you leave, I've got one more question I want to follow up on. So we know that Jimmy loved the game of golf too, and that he couldn't wait to get together all those summers and somewhere on the golf course or in an RV with Chuck Caton and his time down there as well. But when you hear Gary talk about his enthusiasm, you know, what was it like being married to that enthusiasm and the zest that he had all those years?
He kept me on my toes, that's for sure. Jimmy he just had a real passion for the game of hockey, and he was fortunate enough to have 3 runs back at the Blues, and he just continued on with that enthusiasm. And he was good at home.
What did the St. Louis Blues mean to him and your family?
I think the St. Louis Blues meant everything to him. Like we said, he was the first draft choice to start the 67-68 season, and he came back for a second run, which he retired at that time. And his passion for the love of hockey didn't end there. When he retired as a player, he went on to coach. And he just loved the game. And he came back to St. Louis as assistant coach, and he retired from the game altogether.
Judy, Corey, Vicky, thank you guys so much. Congratulations. And it's a special night to be able to bring some of the memories of your dad back to life tonight. So congratulations, and we welcome that Roberts family to the Blues Hall of Fame. You got it. Thank you guys very much.
Again, congrats to the Roberts family. Beautiful people, and what a man he was. Hey, Mr. Pronger, you have not been dismissed, by the way. Okay?
He knows you. Listen, I got a quick Jimmy Roberts story here. So there was a golf outing down in Florida. It's about the 2001 season, somewhere in there. And Dan O'Neill, who was writing for the Post-Dispatch at the time, was part of this group. And there's a group of about 8 people that went on a golf outing. And you're renting clubs from this shack. Well, apparently, the only set of clubs that they had left to rent for Jimmy literally was this set of clubs from like the late 60s and early 70s. I mean, the shafts on the clubs were wooden. Jimmy played this round of golf and shot like an 83. And if you go back, Dan O'Neill wrote a column about the greatest round of golf he's ever seen, and it was that column that he wrote on Jimmy Roberts.
Yeah, he was a great member of Norwood Hills, not far from here, and what a golfer he was, what a man. All right, let's bring up another a guy that we know really well, the great Brett Hull. Come on, Hully.
So this is that great time of the night where we get to look at another aspect of St. Louis Blues history in another part. So last year we mentioned that we started the True Blue Award. And I always bring the card up to make sure I read it right, because I don't want to mess the words up on this one. I could still do that even with I'm reading, but I give myself a better chance. This award pays homage to those who have had a remarkable impact beyond the ice, displaying exceptional commitment to the Blues organization and contributing to the growth and success of the St. Louis Blues off the ice. Well, when we talk about this next recipient, I don't know that we could give this award for the next 50 years, and I'm not sure that there's going to be anyone that embodies it quite like tonight's recipient. He came to the St. Louis Blues and played his first game in 1974. And from that point on, except for just, a couple of stints in 2 other cities, he came back to St. Louis. This is a guy that not only played for the Blues, then sold tickets for the Blues, then broadcasted games for the Blues. And even in one of the most critical moments that has led to the most successful ownership in St. Louis Blues history, he served as team president of the St. Louis Blues. That is an amazing, amazing career. Let's go look at this video.
In 1975, Bruce Affleck began his career with the Blues as a player, coming to the team after a trade with the California Golden Seals. He spent 5 of his 6 NHL seasons in St. Louis and appeared in 274 games in the Blue Note. Affleck continued his career with the Blues after retiring from playing, serving the franchise in numerous roles, ranging from a color commentator alongside legendary broadcaster Dan Kelly to CEO of business operations. In 1988, he founded the St. Louis Blues Alumni, and for more than 30 years, he has grown the group into one of the strongest and most philanthropic networks in the NHL. The personification of dedication to our organization, the Blues are proud to present the 2025 True Blue Award to Bruce Affleck.
We need a picture here, B.A.
His career's been so good, we could hold the award any way possible.
All right, great stuff.
Hey, Bruce, we know our audience here. I made sure that I got rid of the flowers and put the right kind of table dressing to your right here for you, okay?
You got a mic there, B.A.? Hey, congratulations to my former broadcast partner. I am so happy for you. You've done it all with the St. Louis Blues. How does it feel to get this great award?
Well, very special, obviously. I've never had a microphone in my hand before.
Yes, you have.
Is it working?
There you go.
Okay,
we can hear
you. Certainly a very proud moment for myself and our family. Very honored. You got here in 1975, 50 years ago. You think about it. And it's just been a great ride. I mean, I've worked for the city of St. Louis in some aspect for 50 years. Couldn't ask for it anymore.
Yeah, and I saw the video of you when they told you about the award up in the alumni suite. What was that moment like for you?
Well, I wanted to grab Tom and wring his neck. But
okay.
And Randy Gersh, by the way. Had no clue. Walked in, saw my family, saw a number of the alumni, obviously, some of the owners. It was just surreal, almost, to be able to, after Tom mentioned what it was for, humbled, may not be the right word. It was more, certainly surprised, but just a true honor to be given this award.
For Brett, Chris, you guys have been around this organization a long time, and yes, we talk so much about Bobby Plager and some of the other alumni, but really when it comes down to getting the alumni together and making this group what it's become, it really has been on the back of Bruce Affleck, hasn't it?
Well, there's no question about that. And if you talk to anybody around the NHL, and there's a number of great alumni associations, they may be as equal, but there is none better than the St. Louis Blues alumni, and it is because of the great work of Bruce Affleck over the years.
Thanks, Ollie.
Yeah, I think just the moment I came in '95, just seeing the alumni and what Bruce put together, and obviously the ticket side of things, but I think the work he did with the alumni and in the community and giving back to the city of St. Louis and the community, and you learn at a young age, this is what it takes to be a part of the Blues organization. This is what you do for the city, and it just becomes inherent in what you do every day.
So I gotta tell a quick story about Prongs. So we're having an alumni meeting, and Prongs is an alumni now, and the guys are bitching a little bit about what the Blues are doing for us, and can they be doing more and all this stuff. And how many teams did you play for, Prongs?
I don't know. 5.
A lot.
Well, how many did you get? How much did you get paid? How much did you get paid from? How much did you get paid from?
7.
Prong stands up, says something to the guys. Guys, there's no better alumni than right here, and that to me just kind of hit it and said thank you.
Bruce, what do the St. Louis Blues mean to you?
It's been everything. It's been my life. It's supported our family. They grew up Blues fans. I mean, that's our life.
And obviously you've done it all, broadcasting, sales, alumni. What's been the most rewarding, or can you pick one thing?
Working with you, John.
Of course. Yeah. Great answer.
Hey, listen, he didn't have the guts. He says, I think I'm going to ask Bruce, who was your favorite Kelly to work with?
He worked with 3, by the way.
He wasn't going to ask it, but I'd ask with it since you worked with 3 of them.
Well, I think I'm the only one that did color with all 3, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So Dan, your brother, and your dad. So certainly when I first got approached to work for the Blues, and by the way, Susie Matthew, congratulations last year, but Susie's the one who called me.
Yeah.
I was helping sell houses to the Blues players and coaches, and Susie called me, and I thought I was just going down to find out who I'm working with next. And I came in, and she says, well, Jack Quinn wants to see you. And I got offered a job. So I thought I was going to be in real estate the rest of my life. Ended up being back in hockey for the rest of my life. So thank you, Susie.
Bruce, the late, great Bobby Plager always said, all I want was my parade, and he got his parade. What did, for a guy that has now been the longest serving member of this organization, what did the Cup in 19 mean to you and your family?
It was very special. You can't say the players are there, and Vinner was there and Chenner and stuff to win the Stanley Cup and Parayko. There's nothing better than winning it. But the second best thing is being part of it. And we all waited such a long time, and Tom and the ownership group and Z included us, the alumni, in the parade. And I'll never forget that parade, as the players won't either, but going down Market Street and seeing just all the people. Jackman and I clapped the whole way down Market at the fans. It was incredible. I've never felt anything like it. So that was the ultimate as far as a hockey experience goes. And
Do you want to have dinner, and you can tell me about the parade? I have a little trouble remembering some parts.
Hey, Bruce.
It was a short one.
Did you go blue too?
Yeah, did I? When I heard that, I thought, what an idiot. And look at this. Now it's iconic.
Hey, you have a unique perspective, which is why you're receiving an award called the True Blue Award. Because when you think of all that time, and obviously now with the passing of Bobby a few years ago, you're the connection to pretty much every era of St. Louis Blues hockey. So when you sit up here And I was going to say this at the end, but I'm just going to say it now. Like, I don't know about the rest of you, and John, I know you feel this way. But when you get to stand up on a stage or sit on a stage, and a few years ago it was Scotty Bowman, you know, or it's Red Berenson now several years in a row, and you're not just learning history from somebody telling you about it. You're learning history of the organization from people that lived it. So when you see this now over 3 years and the stories and all the aspects of it, what are you thinking when you're sitting back and you've been connected in some way, shape, or form to every single one of these eras?
Well, it's so special. And I think the other part of this is they've kept it intimate. It's not huge. You could put this in Stiefel Theater and you'd sell it out, right? But this just makes it so intimate with all the season ticket holders and the fans and the alumni that are here, which has been fantastic over the years. Give yourself a hand. And it's just, they've done such a great job of it, putting it together. And I just think it's wonderful. And what a tradition that started and continue on for years past us being here.
B.A., so proud of you, so happy for you. Congratulations, Bruce Affleck.
Thank you very much.
Let's hear it for him. B.A.
Hey, John, I noticed he didn't answer that question. You didn't answer the question about which was your favorite Kelly to work with.
Fran.
Fran, there we go. And that's how you last 50 years. All right? Well, we've got one more inductee to put into the St. Louis Blues Hall of Fame this year. Now, look, I remember sitting in a college dorm at Miami of Ohio. All right? I was dating a girl, and the rule was we had to get the homework done before you could go uptown to parties and things, so I was a hell of a student that year. All right? But while in this dorm and she's doing the homework, I've got KMOX on the radio, and all I'm hearing as I'm listening to the game is, big save, Potvin, and back the other way. Here comes Gilmore. Joseph with a big save. And it was end to end. I came flying off the top bunk. I looked there. I go, are you listening to this? You can fill in the rest of the words there, right? But whether it was watching him play, whether it was listening to Ken call him playing, no matter what, it was always exciting. And that's why, growing up, he's always been my favorite Blues goaltender. Let's watch a video.
An athletic and acrobatic goaltender, a menacing nickname, and one of the most iconic masks in Blues history, Curtis Joseph first came to St. Louis in 1989. Famously dubbed Cujo by Blues faithful, Joseph spent his first 6 NHL seasons with the Blues. He led the NHL in save percentage in 1992-93 and in total saves in 3 consecutive seasons from 1991 to 1994. A 94 NHL All-Star, he ranks 4th in Blues history in wins, 4th in games played, and 3rd in both shots faced and total saves. And who could forget that electric meeting at center ice 32 years ago? The Blues are proud to induct number 31, Curtis Joseph.
congratulations, my friend. The microphone's right to your left there. We had you on FanDuel. It looks really
it looks
good,
great.
right? Really
By
good.
the way, these coats are made locally by Bespoke Apparel. And one of these days, I won't do it to you today because we got a lot of fun stuff to talk to you. One of these days, stand up real quick and just show people the lining. Yeah, no, I don't want to see it, but to show that, like, the linings of all these Hall of Fame coach have pictures and stuff when there's a career. Like, one of these times we're just gonna.
Brett's on his third jacket. He lost the
Yeah,
other two. Stephanie, I'm not so forgetful. He's worse than me.
It's Caruso's fault.
God. Curtis, Brett, Chris, you guys go. John and I will be back in 30 minutes.
Well, I just wanted to introduce myself to Curtis.
Listen.
He never saw me, I can tell you that.
That is no joke. Listen, that's the joke. An offensive juggernaut like Brett, he would say, Cujo, we'll see you after the game.
We'll have a beer in the Wise Room after the game.
Yeah, and if he didn't score 2 or 3, I'd be mad, but he usually did.
But Cujo, I was going to say, we had you on TV last night, FanDuel. Andy Strickland talked to you. You were just so happy. I mean, what does this mean to you? I mean, not drafted by anybody, signed as a free agent by Ron Caron, and now you're in the Blues Hall of Fame.
Listen, yes, amazing. Thank you. Before I came to the Blues, I was making $5.50 an hour, baling hay and doing whatever I could. And then I, went to college and signed with the Blues, and I was making more than Brett, I think, my first year, which is insane.
You deserved it.
Hey, listen, I know numbers. He was making $1.35 my first year, and he scored 72. It was so fun to watch.
Well, that's because I was never in our own end.
Yeah, that's true.
And actually, just what do you remember about the Blues coming to you wanting to sign you? Because if I remember the story right, I believe a Blues scout was actually going to scout Rod Brind'Amour. And through that process, somebody said, hey, there's a goalie you need to look at.
So it is a good story. It's interesting, to me anyway. But
it's your night, so it's interesting to them, too.
Thank you. All right, here, I'll take the stage. But I was undrafted for sure. I went to Notre Dame. I went out west, and Rod Brind'Amour was on the team. And every scout in the NHL and every college had to come see Roddy. And we're in the middle of nowhere, Wilcox, Saskatchewan. You're in the middle of nowhere. Every scout comes out, and we had a great team. First time I played on a great team. And we ended up with 16 Division I scholarships that year, which is, it's got to be a record. Anyway.
Remarkable, yes.
Remarkable. So actually the whole team went into the Saskatchewan Hall of Fame. That whole team's in the crazy. But anyway, everybody came to see Roddy, and then...
Who are the other 4 guys?
Yeah, that's true. So, yeah, that's a good one. I can't remember. Listen, every time I see Rod Brind'Amour, I go, Roddy. Thank you. Exactly. You got me to the NHL. You know Roddy, he's the most humble human ever. I go, Roddy, thank you. You got me to the NHL. And he's like, don't mention it.
But they came, they scouted you, and then how did you become?
Oh, so I was undrafted.
I got ADHD too, but I can get you on track.
Yeah.
Brett will distract
exactly.
you.
Thank you. Rightfully so. I was terrible. I was small. I was injured. I was all these things. I played for a great team. We won all of Canada for Tier 2 junior. My sons will go, Dad, Tier 2, you're old. It's just Junior A. So anyway, we won all of Canada, and every scout. So anyway, Ronnie Caron was after me, and I had a few other NHL teams, and so anyway, I went to Wisconsin for 1 year and was a free agent, and Ron Caron just kept after me, and God bless Ronnie, rest in peace. He was a great man, one of the best men you'll ever meet. I know we show videos of, yes. Because Ronnie Caron is here looking down today going, I built this team. These are my guys. And And Ronnie was a man of honor. And anyway, I think our first contract was handwritten on a piece of paper. I talked to Donnie Meehan the other day, and he is like, yeah, we scribbled it out on a piece of paper, and that was your first contract. And I was making more than Brett Hull, so it was pretty good.
Everyone was making more
Yeah,
than
that's
Brett.
true. But who had the last laugh? Brett had the last laugh.
What was there a moment? Was there a person where Cujo became the nickname, or was it just a hockey thing that early on that became your persona?
So my nickname definitely was C-U-J-O, Curtis Joseph. I was born Curtis Monroe. I was adopted, and good thing I didn't keep that name because it would have been Kumo. Wouldn't have worked. The mask thing wouldn't have worked. Anyway, my mom was Curtis Monroe, single mother, 16 years old, 1967. I changed my name to Harold. Joseph was, the father in the house, and changed it to Joseph. And Robert Dirk, who was on our team. Dirkie, tough guy, great dude. Anyway, he couldn't say Curtis Joseph, and he said Cujo. And I was like, oh, that's gonna stick. And it stuck, and of course being the visionary that I am, just kidding, I had a mask painted up by Stephen King, and it worked out pretty good.
I would say. Cujo, when you first came to the Blues, they had a really good team, as we all know.
Yeah.
What were your first impressions of the group, including the guy sitting to your left?
Yeah, so literally I grew up very quiet kid, don't speak unless you're spoken to, and never played at a high level. Got to the NHL overnight, and here I am playing with Brett Hull, hockey royalty. And Brett, if you messed up at all, Brett was like, okay, I'm gonna carve you in front of all the players. And he did, and it was fun. It was funny, but you were very funny at it, which was great. I remember Steve Larmer used to own me.
Still trying to figure out how hard it is to say Curtis Joseph.
I know. That was the inside joke. That was the inside joke. But thank God it worked. But I remember Holly ripping me one time. We played Chicago Blackhawks a lot. Yeah, boo, exactly. And
those boos have gotten lighter over the years. We got to get those boos louder when somebody says Chicago Blackhawks. That's the way a rivalry should go. Oh, sorry, continue.
No question. But I remember Steve Larmer was a great player, and he used to rip it over my glove. He was so deceptive. And for us, we're very, you think you can figure out where a guy's shooting, but Larmer, we used to rip him over my glove. And I remember coming back after the second period, and Larmer had a couple over my glove. And that's your manhood as a goalie. Over your glove is your manhood. It's embarrassing. And Holly, in front of the whole team, said, Cujo, is your glove effing Velcro to your pants? And literally the team burst out in laughter. Of course, I'm the brunt of the joke, which is fine. And from there on...
You never scored again.
You never scored again. I never wanted to be embarrassed again. And Holly was always right. As brutally honest as he was always right. And I always tell people, Holly, as honest as he was always right and fair and everything. So great teammate. I love this guy. I watched him play, scores. Here I am sitting down the other end and watching him score on the goalies. I'm like, oh, watch this. And he would score 72 with Peter Zezel as your centerman. God bless Peter Zezel, but he wasn't, he wasn't Joe Sakic.
Or Otzi, yeah.
Or Otzi.
But he was great.
He was great. Peter was amazing.
Great. But there's a guy that made me a way better scorer because in practice, Curtis Joseph we had this deal, and it didn't matter. Like I told him, I said, okay, I practice, I shoot like it's a game. So no matter where I am on the ice, I'm going to shoot like it's a game. You can stand wherever you want in the net, but I'm going to shoot it where I'm going to shoot it in a game so that it becomes second nature, and I can get it away faster and without thinking. And I'd come down the ice, and there'd be Cujo just leaning on the right post. And I'd be over here, and I'd hit him right in the pads, and he would giggle. And I go, yeah, but you're not going to be there in a game. And he goes, you're damn right, so I'm not going to be there in a game. But he made me a better player. And I think I made him a better goalie. And, I mean, what a career he had. And you talk about great teammates. There's one right there. He's one of the greatest human beings I've ever met in my life.
Chris, what was it like playing in front of him that first year here?
No, we got a chance to play at the Olympics.
Oh, that's right, the Olympics in 02, that's right.
Unfortunately, didn't end well.
How many cups would I have won if Prongs was in front of me? I always say that. Prongs is, sorry, Prongs, to cut you off, but you were one of the greatest defensemen of my time.
Thank you.
Because of, he was.
Well, there's a stat to prove it. There's only 2 defensemen ever to win the MVP. And one is Bobby Orr, and the other is Chris Pronger.
Well, Jimmy, that's Jimmy's shadow. Jimmy Roberts was the shadow.
Yeah, I can't believe he won it with Jimmy shadowing him. Well, he couldn't shadow him from 80. Well, back then, what, 72 games? He was Bobby Orr and Chris Pronger. I mean, that's someone to be.
Polar opposites right there, Cujo. Polar opposites. Number 4 and number 44, polar opposites. Not the same player.
Listen, I wish I played behind you because nobody would have got to the net.
More than the 2
with
games
him in front of
more
him.
than the 2 games you got in the Olympics.
So what happened there? Do we want to get into that?
Oh, the Olympics?
Oh, no, the only the 2 games. Well, the Olympics actually is a great story because it was Wayne Gretzky that said that at the time, he goes, Curtis Joseph had to be on this Olympic team because he was the best goaltender in the National Hockey League. And for the greatest to have played the game as a forward, and players say that's got to mean a lot to you to know that that's how he felt about you and why he wanted you on that team.
He's a great man.
He is.
No, for
Smart
Wayne,
man, smart man.
For Wayne to say something, that's why I wrote a book, because Wayne wrote on the cover. For Wayne to say something nice about you. He's a very intelligent, like Hully. I always say Hully's one of the smartest humans that I know, and you are. I don't know what's happened lately. When I played, Hully was the sharpest tack in the drawer, no question. And Wayne's the same way. Wayne is his recall. His recall is incredible. He is a genius. And so for Wayne to say something nice about you is quite a, to answer your question, it's quite a nice thing.
Absolutely. You know, Cujo, watching you play, I loved, obviously, how skilled you were, but how competitive you were. I think we all agree you were so competitive. And I had a chance one time, this is a random question, play golf with you at Old Worson. Yeah. I used to play with the players. I was a young guy. I was a decent golfer then. And we were on number 7 at Old Worson. And I'm just curious, you hit a 7-iron and you shanked it into the creek. And you were so mad, you took the 7-iron and threw it up in a tree, and it never came down. I'm just curious, did you ever get the 7-iron?
So that's terrible. I hate, you know, probably that's the last time I threw a club. I'm not that good. I wasn't that good, by the way. And I should never throw clubs. If you don't practice every single day at your craft, you should never be throwing clubs. That's my feeling. And I've gotten a lot better. But I'm very competitive and very, that was my outlet. I was, I don't know, I hated to lose. And I'm sorry that I threw the club.
So the question is...
That was the last time I threw a club.
Did you get the 7-iron back?
No, it's still in the tree.
Okay,
All right,
there we go.
I know exactly where it is, and I know exactly what tee box that's on.
Hey, so we have a bag over here, and I don't know what's in it, but I'm gonna pull this out while John heads to the...
We also have a special guest in the audience, Curbs.
Yes, we do.
A guy that knows Cujo really well. Stanley
Take it
Cup
away.
champion
You
over
got it.
here, Jordan Binnington. Binner, would you mind standing up, buddy? Thank you very much. Let's hear it for Jordan Binnington. So, talking to Jordan today after practice, and you grew up in the same area as Cujo, and you were buddies with a nephew of his, and you got to know Cujo as a kid. What do you remember about him?
Yeah, I think it was his family member, but yeah, I mean, I'll just take the mic. Yeah, we have a strange amount of connections, starting with our goalie coaches. Cujo came along the way, and I must have been 12 years old at the time. And just a quick story about the type of guy or competitor Cujo was. He was used as the forefront for us to watch him practice and see his compete and work ethic. And I remember they would use the example that, you were on a private, which is one goalie on the ice and a bunch of shooters and the goalie coaches, and he would bring out a 2-4 of water bottles. And I don't know how many you drink, but he was just using the example of how hard he works and how much water he needs. So as a kid, we'd be inspired by not only your work ethic, other things that stood out to me, your style. The gear was on point for sure. And then just the type of person you were. I think I must have seen you around the rinks in the GTA, Toronto area a few times, and you were always, I must have 10 autographs from you and different things, and you're always willing to sign stuff and so kind, and just you really imprinted in my mind and inspired me to not only being a good goaltender, but a great person, and if I was ever in this position, to be as kind as you and inspire, the what's upcoming. So thanks to you.
Beautiful.
Jordan Binnington, thank you, Binner. That's great stuff.
How do these things look to you? When Jordan's talking about equipment.
So, I remember. Where's Chaser? Chaser, are you here?
He's right over there.
Chaser, you told me that they lost these goalie pads, and I've been mad ever since. I literally have been stewing. Ask my wife. I'm like, what? Yeah. Hey, listen, your shoulder pads, these goalie pads? I don't think so. Binner, thank you very much. You're a great kid and a great goalie and worked hard, and I always follow you. My sons all know you. You're great. I'm so glad you have the Blues record. Whoopsie. Yeah, I'm glad you have the Blues record and are chosen for Team Canada. That's going to be a great...
Yeah, it is. Way to go.
So these are the pads that protected the legs. I think this is the thing that everybody wants to see for you. Walk us through this mask.
So this is such a great mask, and I think, Chaser, you said this was gone too somewhere.
We know who to keep things from.
So I want to say there's a few dents in the cage, but like Holly was saying earlier, hey, I'm going to shoot hard on you. I'm going to shoot like it's a game. And honestly, I didn't care because Holly knew exactly where he was shooting the puck. So it's the other guys who had no clue where they were shooting were the scary ones. But Holly, he was within an inch of every goalpost, and I could try on every shot. And that's a big thing for a goalie. And you're in practice and you want to work hard, but guys are shooting it all over the place and you're going to get hurt. But Holly was shooting it within like inches of wherever he was going to go. So anytime you shot the puck, Holly, I was like always trying.
I know. And I still haven't scored a goal in practice.
What's it like as a goaltender when it's truly, if you think of all the pro sports, especially with the way uniforms are and things and the rules now, it may be one of the, in all of pro sports, the most individualized thing that an athlete's able to do, a goaltender be able to paint his mask.
Yeah.
Like, when you're thinking about this, did you ever imagine that that mask would be as legendary a mask in the history of the NHL as it has become?
No, never. But you know, you're young, and the artist is like, "Hey, I'm gonna draw you up something." I'm like, "Yep, Cujo theme. You know, I'm gonna run with it. Kids are gonna love it." It was at the time where kids were turning from the helmet, and they were CSA approved, so they got masks. So every kid in Canada was able to wear a mask, and so I'm having this painted, and I'm like faxing the artist, and he's like, "What do you want on it?" I go, "Hey, you send me something that looks amazing, Cujo theme," and he would send me something, and I'd go, "That's amazing. Can I change the color just like a little?" I would change something. They were the artist. I'm not the artist. And anyway, they came up with this. And literally, this is one of my favorite masks of all time. The colors and the yellow around it is incredible. I need to wash this right now. It's bothering me. But this is one of my favorite masks. And actually,
you think it fits?
Oh, yeah. Let's try it on.
Should we try that?
Hold on a second.
The moment.
And it smells.
There's a lot of hair in there.
Looks like he could still save the shots.
It fits perfect.
It fits. That
like
is
a glove.
It truly is amazing. We have another moment we're going to talk about here in just. But I read a story in your book that I would love for you to share, and that especially with Brett sitting here. But the story of Brian Sutter giving a pregame speech, but Bobby Hall happened to be in the locker room and didn't realize that Brian was giving the speech.
I love Brian Sutter. Listen, he was the reason.
Everyone.
He's the reason that I came here. I was coming on a recruiting trip. He picked me up at the airport in a limo. I went and visited his family. He was amazing. And I'm like, yep, this is the place I'm coming. He was like, this is my coach. I went to his house and met his family and his kids. This is amazing. And I had a bunch of choices from nothing. And then I had a bunch of choices. And then, what was the question originally?
This is great. I love about the pregame speech from.
Oh God.
From Brian
Okay,
Sutter.
we're in Toronto.
Here, I'm gonna put this on the table for you.
We're in Toronto, and the visiting room in the Gardens, it has 2 dressing rooms for the visiting room. It's like a makeshift thing. And Brian Sutter is fire and ice, right? He is just giving it, and he's like, we're in Toronto, so it's big stage, everything. Yeah, Hockey Night in Canada, it's going crazy. And literally, he's in the defensive, there's 2 dressing rooms. He's in the defensive dressing room. And Bobby Hall comes in. Because Bobby was always around. And Bobby comes in, he goes, hey guys, we're gonna win this. And Brian Sutter stops out of respect and lets Bobby Hall come in 2 minutes before the game and go, hey, we're gonna win this game. We're gonna kill these guys. And listen, fire their first shot at the goalie's head, and then the next one's along the ice. And Bobby always used to say that. And I remember turning maybe to Vincent Riendo and going, hey, somebody tell Bobby the goalies have masks now. But I loved it.
They're not afraid of you anymore.
But I loved it because Brian Sutter was a machine, and he was a great man and fire. But when Bobby Hall stepped in the room, it was like, and it was great. God bless Bobby Hall. I loved him. He was amazing human.
Well, I think we're going somewhere different.
Yeah.
But like Chaser, we have to remember Chicago Blackhawks 91. Was it 91 or was it 92? When we got outshot 120 to 30 and we swept the Blackhawks. And every game was 1-0, 1-0, 2-1, 1-0. And it was because Curtis Joseph stopped 120 or 30 shots in 4 games. multiple overtimes, many games, and it was the greatest goaltending exhibition I have ever witnessed in my life.
Wow. All right. I got nothing to say.
So I want to make sure and see if everybody here was paying attention, but I actually don't think that they needed the prep for this. But if you think of St. Louis Blues hockey, and if you've listened to broadcasts over the years, there's things that'll always ring true, and it's hearing John's dad yell Mike Crombeen, or on Red Berenson's great night, it was always Berenson around Van Imp, right? And all these calls over the years, and with Ken, all the great saves that led to Oh Baby. But there's probably, in the history of this franchise, the 3 most famous words in the history of the franchise from any individual call. And I'm going to count this down to see if all of you at the same time can say it as loud as you can. All right? So if you know what it is, let it fly. In 3, 2, 1.
Here comes Shovel Day. He'll be thrown out of the game. Shovel Day. Now Joseph gets into it. Curtis Joseph grabs Shovel Day, and the 2 goalies go at it head to head. And Joseph with 3 great rights to Shovel Day. And we've got some terrific fights going on.
And Cummins came out of the penalty box as well.
There are sticks and gloves everywhere. The 2 goalies having a great fight at center ice. For those of you watching that on television, we'll try to update you on everyone else. Dan Marawelli has Cummins out of things. The 2 linesmen are working on separating Lowry and Probert. Basson is out there tied up with one of the Wings players. And now I guess fatigue setting in a bit. Holy cow, what a way to begin a night of hockey here at the arena in St. Louis. Listen to this crowd.
I'm amazed when we're talking about a guy that I truly believe doesn't just belong in the St. Louis Blues Hall of Fame, but when he retired, he had the 4th most wins of any goaltender in the history of the National Hockey League. The day is coming. He belongs in the Hockey Hall of Fame in Toronto. All right? And by the way, his total is still 7th, but if you back out all the shootout wins, 5th. So you're still top 5, depending on how to go. But let's go to that fight. Walk us through what is just one of the most iconic moments in St. Louis Blues history.
The fight?
That would be it, yes.
Listen, if I knew I was going to get that much press from a fight, I would have fought 2 weeks earlier. I would have fought Ron Hextall. I'm just kidding. But Chaser, I remember after the game, Chaser was giving it to Shovel Day. He goes, "You call yourself a Western boy?" Because the Western Canadians, they are tougher than shit. And it's true as ever. But Chaser was like, "Hey, Chevy, you're out of shape. You were probably tired by the time you skated the center." I remember that. And he was. So where that came from, and I'm not a great fighter, a good athlete, but I played baseball, and literally I had a fight one time, and I led with my face, and I encountered a bad kid, and he literally punched my face in, and I went down. I go, "That will never happen to me again. If I ever get in another fight, I am gonna throw fast and hard, and that guy will never get a punch in." And that was my second fight. And it worked.
What do you remember about what was going on the ice that had you busting out?
Chaser started a fight, of course. Who was Chaser fighting? He started a fight. He knows he can beat, what's his name from Detroit? Chaser beats him every time. And then Bob Probert is fighting. It's a fair fight. He's fighting 2 guys. He's fighting Bob Basson.
And Jim Cummins.
Jim Cummings. Chaser beats him every time. But Chaser started it. And then Probert's fighting Bob Basson and Dave Lowry. Fair fight. Yeah. That's a fair fight. But then Chevy comes flying out. I'm like, oh, okay, here we go. I can't have an outnumbered situation. And so I go and literally start throwing punches like I'm throwing a baseball.
You know, Cujo, we saw the video again, and at the end of the fight, I mean, Chevalier's eyes were about closed.
Yeah. So
he was ready to say no mas, right?
Yes. So I did catch him a lot. So anyway, Vincent.
Accidentally on purpose.
Yeah. Vincent Riendo is his roommate. So Vinny calls me in the morning, because me and Vinny are friends. We played in St. Louis.
Vinny was your former partner here, of course.
So he's his roommate. So Vinny calls me in the morning, goes, Cujo. He's whispering, goes, Cujo. Hey, Vinny, how you doing? He goes, hey, Chevy's in the bathroom. His eye is shut. I'm like, hey, Vinny, thanks, buddy. Say hi to Marie-José.
Curtis, for those that don't know Curtis's story, and obviously with the limited time we have, we don't have time to get into it. So I do recommend you get Curtis's book and you learn about the early part of his life, the childhood, because what you witnessed, where you lived, what you grew up around was amazing. And I think one of the most impactful lines in the book, honestly, compared to all the stories, was despite how unusual and at times rough it was, you said you were so loved and cared for, and you wouldn't change a thing. It really helped make you who you are. When you look back at that, and you look at your continued blues family, your time here in St. Louis, and just how much, all these years later, you still feel the love of what you mean to a fan base and to people and the legend that you become here. How do you tie a bow around all that?
So in a brief synopsis, met my wife, Stephanie, who's a beautiful soul. Stand up, Stephanie. Stand up. Stand up. Let's embarrass her. I know, she's the real star. So I never talked about my childhood, embarrassed of it. And Stephanie's like, she keeps trying, and she gets it out of me, and I'm like, yeah, this is what happened, blah, blah, blah. She's like, you should write a book. This is a great story. So I write a book to help people. And it turns out it helps kids. And my son Luke was like, Dad, you got to help people. You can write this book. You have a great story. So between Luke and Stephanie, they helped me write a book, and it was phenomenal. So now I get to St. Louis, and I'm a quiet, shy kid. Brett's the voice of the team and the star, and can't get a word in edgewise. You're never going to argue with this guy because he's going to belittle you in front of the team, which is probably great for you. Keep you humble. But literally, Steph always tells me when one of the kids texts me, and I jump up and go, hey, somebody needs me. Somebody needs me. She goes, you need to be needed. And I go, I need to be needed? What are you talking about? And I need to be needed. So when I was a goalie for the Blues, I needed to be needed. And the fans liked it, and my teammates liked it, and that was how I was brought up. I needed to be needed, and it worked out.
Ladies and gentlemen, blues legend, blues Hall of Famer, Curtis Joseph. There goes Cujo. Ladies and gentlemen, if we could have all of the St. Louis Blues Hall of Famers from all the classes come up for a photo. For those that have been tuning in on the St. Louis Blues YouTube channel, as well as Matrix Midwest, we'd like to thank you all for joining us. Thank you for coming to the MAC, and we look forward to the 2026 induction of the St. Louis Blues Hall of Fame class. For John Kelly, for our entire team, good night, everybody, and we will see you at the rink.